Everybody, today we are going to be taking a look at the tropics as we have now Tropical Storm Alberto, a 50-mile-an-hour tropical storm developed earlier today, and tonight it has actually went from a 40 to a 50 miles an hour storm, pretty much not rapidly strengthening, but strengthening pretty quick. For this time of season in the Bacon Peach at a 993 millibar with a 50-mile-an-hour tropical storm. Then we have actually three other waves that I would like to talk about here. But first is going to be Tropical Storm Alberto, pretty much going over it thing. So we take at the winds. I mean, this is going to be the wind fields here and the warnings here. This is the wind field. The wind field is absolutely enlarged here. This storm has been very interesting. It came up through here, formed a bit, kept coming like this, and then finally formed here. But since it formed, it has moved like southwest, and now it's moving more of a west. So this thing actually made land is going to be making landfall a lot more south than expected. So that will mean less rain for the Texas coast here. I already know some areas got up to 6 to 10 inches in a spot with some training thunderstorms. It's still training thunderstorms, but this is going to be the path of the landfall. But this is a huge wind field. I mean, this is the center of low here, and we got winds stretching all the way into central Mexico, even, and not to Houston, but pretty far north here, and this is sustained tropical storm force winds here. Very large. This is easily 400, 500 miles with the winds here. If we take a look at the winds, I'm going to see if I can find it, but look at the wind field. Absolutely enlarged here. Pretty far north of Texas. Just crazy how big the wind field is. Truly is. Um, if we take a look at the discussion here, is as of 10 p.m. Alberto is gradually becoming better organized this evening. Satellite and microwave imagery shows a band curving around the southern side of the center near areas of deep convection. An Air Force reconnaissance is currently investigating the storm measures surface winds up to 43 knots and peak flight levels of 61 knots, with a much smaller radius of maximum winds than the previous mission. The intensity is set to 45 knots here. The recent storm motion is generally westward at 8 knots. That's about 9 miles an hour. Guidance and Sicily will continue to accelerate as the ridge centered over. So it's just going to be making a landfall very soon. They do say prior to moving inland, there is still a possibility that Alberto will slightly strengthen. The forecast now shows the storm dissipating over the mountains in the next 48 hours. They kind of don't really have anything. They have it as a 50-mile-an-hour storm, but maybe for the 2 a.m. update, if they feel confident, they might push this to a 55, maybe even a 60-mile-an-hour storm. And this is pretty crazy here with some of these winds reaching very far south there. We have 28 knots. So it's about like 40 miles an hour winds reaching all the way here. But this is the latest satellite. They are doing the lovely zigzag. So this is probably still quite a bit. They came in from here. Oh no. They came over here. Wait, no. No. They came from here, went this way, didn't look too good, made a track, then got over here with some stronger winds up to 45, 50. Then went back here and they find some even stronger 55, 60. And then over here where I'm about to circle, they found 63 knots. That's up to 70-mile-an-hour wind gust here. Um, Found some tropical storm force winds here. some depression, tropical storm gust here to the south of the system, but this is generally moving west south. You can tell I'm kind of waiting into a zigzag this again, and then they're probably gonna go out. So this is probably gonna be their last pass for tropical storm. Um, for this tropical storm. So, like I said, 95-mile-an-hour storm. If we take a look at the aircraft reconnaissance, there it is. We're going to be just waiting on that in the satellite imagery. I mean, ridiculous here with the satellite imagery. Absolutely deep convection in Alberto right now. Absolutely exploding with convection here. And if we just wait here on minicast, I mean, look at the convection. I mean, these are easily 90-degree cloud tops. Maybe relaxing in the last few frames. Still very present, but there is that low in there. So there's just a strengthening low. And I'm actually very curious what they are going to find in this. Are they going to find hurricane force wind gust? I feel like is definitely a big possibility here. If we take a look at this satellite here instead of the heat wave imagery, we do find the storm being embedded here. So the low level circulation somewhere in here. So it probably once again going to take a few hours. It might make it 7 a.m. I do think it's possible. Um, but that is pretty much with Alberto as this just will move on here. But we do have two other areas that I'm really watching that we could maybe have the B name storm and potentially the C name storm. Is if we take a look at the 1050, and actually I think they updated no. So they still haven't updated. I'm very curious why they haven't updated this. Disturbance number one here. 30% now in the next 48 hours and 7 days. This was actually at a 10% and 20%, but they did find a small area of low pressure has formed about 300 miles east northwestern Bahamas this evening. Disorganized showers and thunderstorms activity. While the environment conditions are only marginal conducive due to nearby dry air, further development of the system is possible while the low moves west northwestward and approaches northern coast Florida or Georgia on Friday. So today is current. So tomorrow's like Thursday. So this still has about 24 to about 48 hours to develop, and I do think we might have our second tropical storm here. I'm pretty confident here. We might. The models once again not showing it, but why I do think it's very possible because number one, they invest this. Number two, at the eight when this did came out, it was at 1,015 millibars, so it was actually dropped 2 millibars. Satellite imagery is getting better, and all of the tropical guidance right now does have it becoming a weak tropical storm. I do not think this will be a strong tropical storm. I think a weak one. Another reason is because only Assam was 1,016, and right now it's actually at 1,013. So definitely ahead of strength here. And if we take a look at satellite here, very crazy how we kept looking at this in the last few updates and nothing really has happened. But like they say, this has honestly gotten a lot better organized. Here, still very disorganized, but a lot better organized with some deeper convection, really taking near the center. One thing is there is some wind shear right now on top of this, so it is kind of displaying some of the thunderstorms. But big key here is it's supposed to be encountered with some dry air issues. And right now, I would say this is generally doing a good job at battling that here. that dry air. Why do I say that? Is because honestly, the center of low pressure is in this right here. So the low pressure is right here in this. There is some deeper convection exploding on the center. We do have we do have a small storm. I do think if this does become a tropical storm, this will be a smaller tropical storm. There's the Bahamas. I do not think it's going to impact the Bahamas at all. I think it's just going to keep on sliding. We do have some good thunderstorms moving from the south to north here. And then they are trying to wrap on the northern side. If we can see that, we've been trying to see some indications of that. And I do think it will continue to possibly happen. But this right here, the deeper convection, I'm liking. If the millibars are going to keep dropping, then we need persistent convection on top of the center because it's going to make its own moist bubble. And it's going to be very interesting how this thing is going to look in the morning because if it doesn't look too good, then this is probably just an area to watch and maybe just never gets its act together. But tonight, it's looking a lot different than previous nights, and I really think that's why the National Art Center is taking a little bit longer because they're really trying to see it, and they might even send an aircraft out to the storm tomorrow, if needed. I think if needed, if this is looking pretty decent, I think they should go ahead and try and see if they do find something here. But if we take a look at the models here, so if we take a look at the NAM 3 cam here, really nothing. I mean, this is in the next 12 hours. There it is. Really never gets its act together. Just shows a low pressure and it pretty much makes a landfall. I mean, it consolidates, strengthens, and makes a landfall in the Georgia area in the next 40 hours. So it still has time to continue to strengthen. The only thing that's keeping this from really getting its act together is that dry air. The National Hurricane Center states it in their update there. But if we take a look at the dry air probabilities here, this is just on the NAM here. I mean, on the NAM, it has a pretty good moist bubble. It does develop that moist bubble. Definitely gets encountered with some dry air, but I do think it is possible. All right, this is just a possibility with the environment being marginally conducive, like the National Rain Center said. I do think this could become a 40, 50 mile an hour tropical storm. Maybe. I mean, I don't think a hurricane, I don't think a strong tropical storm. I think a weak to moderate tropical storm is very possible. And clearly, the wind shear on this cyclonic flow, I mean, really no wind shear at all in the center of this. The vorticity is definitely there here on the storm. Um, if we take a look at the vorticity here, um, let's take a look at the upper steering maps too. There it is, kind of just drags this storm west right now. This storm kind of moving south here because of that cyclonic flow already developing there. So a cyclonic flow right there. So that's going to continue to move that way. The vorticity on this, though, is pretty significant. We definitely, I feel like this is a little bit older, but there it is a bit there of vorticity. I like that. For a tropical storm, it has to be somewhere with that vorticity. Um, Pretty significant. The shear maps here. Once again, the shear is only getting less. The shear is really cutting down, dropping around here, so the shear shouldn't be too much of an issue. Still, we do got some shear, but with the last shear, it shouldn't be blowing the thunderstorms as much by tomorrow morning. So if there is some deeper convection and some better looks in this, then I do think it's very possible, and you can tell easily the shear pretty much dropping dramatically in the path of the storm. So that's just even more signatures there for better development here. So now I would like to take a look at the last area of the tropical Atlantic. Let's just update this, make sure we have nothing new. So nothing new there, but we do have, as the APM update, they do have another area for 40%. In a broad area, once again, the same type of system like this. And I do think, once again, Mexico is going to be the main targeted, maybe a little bit north, maybe a little bit more south. We do not have any satellite imagery on this because it hasn't even developed. It is supposed to be a later on storm right after this one. So if if the one in the Atlantic develops, that will be Beryl, and then we have Cinda or Cindia, whatever you want to call it. But we do get on the icon a tropical storm to develop here, and actually moves pretty far north before making landfall in Mexico. Here we do get that third tropical storm here in the next by June 24th. So just south of Texas, we're gonna have to watch because that pretty much inches strengthens pretty nice into a weak minimum tropical storm. Once again, same areas, major impacts. So that's just one model here. The Canadian here, this is the 12Z, but definitely had a tropical storm to develop and become 1,000 millibars into Mexico once again. So, it's one of these things, and the environment's going to be very conducive because if you take a look at the wind shear map here, on all these models, there is no wind shear. Honestly, a cyclonic flow, very good environment for this. Once again, no dry air really. This is just an all moist bubble storm. So I don't see anything really stopping it in this way. I'm very curious what's gonna happen after this. I think it's gonna be more locked in on there, but once again, the environment's very conducive. There's the Euro getting pretty far north in the Gulf of Mexico. So once again, we have to watch because the environment is so conducive, and Euro struggles but has a way of making landfall into areas around there, and then we just have a lot of moisture around that we're going to be having to be careful with. But that should pretty much wrap it up on this one here. I will have another tropical update tomorrow. Maybe we'll try in the morning. I will have to see. But Tropical Storm Alberto should be um, dissipating into remnants of Alberto tomorrow. And we're going to have to see what happens with Invest 92L if tomorrow morning it looks good. We might be doing another video like this tomorrow with Tropical Storm Beryl making impacts into Georgia here. Just quickly before we go, let's look at shortwave here. I mean, pretty nice here, honestly. it's helping to intense that swirl, so maybe dropping. But that's going to be it, you guys. See you in the next one. Have a great night.